Recently, I learned you could actually do pixelation in Moho. And as you can see on screen right now, it just takes an image you make and kind of downs the quality of it to what kind of looks like retro video games. As you can see, you can do some pretty cool things with that, like scene building or making even a character. Just take any kind of simple piece of art and kind of make it look like a retro game. So I've been kind of playing around with that with some brushes and other things, and learned you could make some amazing things with it. So I'm going to show you how I built this scene. In Season 2, Episode 3 of An Animator in the Making, I titled it How to Make Your Animations Look Like Retro Video Games. But I feel like a lot of people didn't see how I actually did it because I did it like halfway through the video. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people either dropped off or maybe just kind of grazed over that section and didn't notice it. So I thought I'd put it at the beginning of this tutorial before I get into how to build background with it to show how easy it is to change your animations to pixelation. So to render this out real quick to show you, this character is not pixelated. Now we're going to go down to, you can just do it with the full file. The reason I have so many files of this character is because I have two versions of him. So when I pull him, I have a non-pixelated version and a pixelated version. So this would be the file I'd normally pixelate. You go to this section right here, pixelation. I like to do it on 10 just because it's very dramatic in how it pixelates it and it looks like really game graphic, especially when he's at this size. So you can do whatever you want though, because as you can see, it can go up to 255. So this is what he looked like in the video originally. He looked like this. Now obviously he looked a little bit different and, oh no, maybe I didn't have him on 10, because actually that's really pixelated. Let's see what he looks like on 5. That looks a little more right. So you'll have to play with it a little bit to get the graphic you want. But yeah, as you can see, pixelation is kind of dramatic depending on where you do it. Don't think of pixelation as bits like 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. That's not at all what it is. Pixelation is how many pixels are on a specific area square on this map. I don't exactly know how big the squares are. I've never actually checked. But to show you just kind of that concept, here he is pixelated on just 2 pixels. So as you can see, it's a little grainy, has some sharp edges a little bit. This is the non-pixelated version, and here's just 2 pixelation. Now, if you take it too high, your character will actually disappear. So to show you what I mean by that, let's go to 255, which is the max you can do. Now let's see what he looks like. As you can see, he is gone. It's not still rendering, he's just gone. Because it's trying to pixelate on 200, what do you call it? It's trying to spread those pixels out so much that there's no color left, nothing. So if you take it too high, your characters will disappear. I think the highest you could probably do with a character, especially this small, would probably be 30. Yeah, so you can see he's very dramatically reduced in graphic. This looks like a very basic model for a game character. He kind of looks like a very early 90s version of Minecraft if it would have come out then. But yeah, so that's what pixelation is and how easy it is to use. So we'll turn this back probably to 8, and I'm going to just show you how you can do this actually with other things. I would not recommend doing it with a model like this for this reason. Look how horrifying this thing looks if you do it to 10. Look at that. That looks like something that's about to rush you in a horror game while screaming like demonically. But you can make it work. So you can see this is a little better. You will have to play with it again to make it look how you want it to, but yeah. But one thing interesting about pixelation, it works on MP4 files and pictures. You don't have to just, well, I'll render it out and show you. So you can see, this is what it looks like. If we'd actually play it, as you can see, it is an MP4 file. Go down to here, set it to 10, render it again. This is what it looks like. So here's no pixels and pixels. So yeah, you can do it with practically anything. I haven't found anything you can't do it with yet, at least. You can do it with 3D objects too. Actually, I'll build one real quick so I can just show you that part. Just get ourselves a 3D object. Let's do a square. We just center it. That way it doesn't look too weird. Color it in. And we'll just do extrude because it's the simplest to tell the difference in 3D. Do it from the side. Go to Pixelation. Choose 10. So you can see it's pixelated. You can't really tell it's from an angle in Pixelation. You'll have to add some details and stuff, but I've done like Sonic Power Rings, Mario coins. You'll actually see the Mario coins one in this tutorial. But yeah, it's very simple to do, and it's very useful for just making your game graphics without having to worry about drawing them or kind of buying special software to make them look like game graphics. Anyways, on to the tutorial. So first, I'm going to show you how you can make custom brushes in Moho. This is actually fairly simple to do. What you're going to want to do first is change the outer borders of your Moho kind of render screen. How you do that is you go up to File, you go to Project Settings, turn off Constrain Proportions, and then you just want to do 1024 or 1024, and it should sometimes correct, sometimes it doesn't. Make sure this is on custom, it should already be. Then you hit OK, and as you can see, it shrunk the borders down. So now, when we render something, as you can see, the box is smaller than normal. What that's going to do is, when we render out our images as a PNG, it will come out in this shape instead, which is the standard size for a Moho brush. We will get to how to import later. Well, actually, I'll just do it real quick for anyone who kind of knows, because anyone who's already drawn something would know how to do it. So we'll just make something simple real quick. Let's do, I don't know, just a simple circle. Oh, sorry, I had one of my custom brushes on. Let's just get rid of that. And we'll make it a more reasonable size. Let's make it a 10. And we'll just make this shape, actually we'll just leave it like that. That way you have a simple shape. You render it out, you'd save it as a PNG, and I'm going to save it into this folder right here. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to go to your Applications folder. In your Applications folder, you are going to scroll down until you find Moho. This one. After that, you are going to show package content. When you show the package contents, you are going to go to Resources. In Resources, you are going to go to Support, Common, Brushes. And here is every one of your Moho brushes. All you're going to do is find the image you just made and drag it into this folder. You do not need to do anything else after that. But you will have to restart Moho to show the brush in Moho. Otherwise, it will not show up until the next time you start the program. So just save whatever you were working on and then reopen the program and it should be in here. To show you this works, here are some custom brushes I have made. So yeah. Now, if you want to do a kind of group brush like you've seen in Moho, like I'm sure a lot of you have seen, that you go to Pro and Brushes. And then you just put in the file that you saved all your brushes into. So make a custom file, name it to something you will recognize, and then make sure every image is in there. Now, Moho, when it comes to dealing with those kinds of brushes, which I'll just pull one up real quick. Let me just hide this. When it comes to dealing with those kinds of brushes, Moho normally just randomizes the order unless you switch to a less random setting. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. Let me just space these out so you can tell the difference between buildings. So as you can see, the buildings are in relatively a random order. What you want to do is go here. Oh, it is already on minimize to frame randomness. But yeah, this is how you would do that. But if you would just want one building, just drag it back and you'd get one building. Now, the only unfortunate downside to this is if you are just wanting one thing and you put them in kind of like a reel so you could have them later, you will have to trial and error with copy and pasting, but normally that doesn't take long. And there we go. We have every building now. So these, oh, wonder why that happened. Interesting. I've never noticed that before. Well, you can also do this. Just keep repainting it until the proper building shows up. Already have that one. There we go. Doesn't take long because there are only 3 options and it doesn't have much to work off when it comes to randomness. So if you need just an individual object, you can also do this. Now on to making custom brushes. What I'm going to make first, let me just delete this. What I'm going to make first is a kind of pathway for our character to walk on. So we're going to just make a simple shape. Let's shrink that down a little. And you want to make sure everything's centered. So make sure these coordinates are always 0. So your whole picture is centered inside this square. So here's our kind of base for it. What I'm going to do next is create another layer. We'll just duplicate this one because it's going to be the relatively same shape. And we're going to expand it a little bit. Let's color these in so we can tell the difference. I've got to remember to shut this brush off when I'm done. And make sure your lines are on whatever thickness you want, if you want lines. I would recommend when it comes to pixel art, doing relatively thick lines and making sure they are relatively the same shade as what you're working in, but we'll get back to that in a second. Okay, I'm going to grow that part now. And shrink this part away a little bit. And I'm just painting this yellow so I can tell the difference between everything. Rendering it out, zoom out a little bit. Okay, it looks like it's a little taller, but Pixelation will probably take care of that. If it bothers you though, you can shrink it down a little bit. Which it bothers me, so I'm going to shrink it down a little bit actually. Okay, that's better. So now, next thing we're going to do is, actually I'm going to work on the sides of these. So you're going to grab all 4 corners, hit G or click this selection box up here, and then you're going to hit split. And I'm actually going to hit this quite a few times. If you eliminate some points, it helps with rendering and lag a little bit. At least it does on mine, especially if you're on a laptop. But yeah, make as many of these as you can, or as you want to, I guess, because you could make them indefinitely. So don't make as many as you can until you crash your computer. Then we're going to grab every 3rd dot, or point, or whatever you want to call this. And I'm holding Shift so I can grab multiple for anyone who is new to Moho. So just Shift click. Okay. Now, expand it outward a little bit. Then we're going to round out those corner edges, Let's render it and see what it looks like. So, there we go. This is what the final product will kind of look like when you have it in this form. These are going to be the edges of the path. So the bottom part is basically done. We just kind of got to pick a color for it, but that part we can do at the end. The next part is this layer. This is actually just going to be a mask layer. So it can be kind of just boring base color. So let's choose kind of lighter brown from our background brown. Then we're going to just duplicate it again. And then we're just going to expand this one actually outside the borders. The reason this one doesn't matter is because it's going to be invisible in a second. Well, masked, not really invisible, I guess. So it will only show up inside the borders of this one. So let's mask it. Actually, I'm going to change the color of it so you can see what happens here. So let's just make it bright red. Go to your masking, hide all, apply. And as you can see, it went inside this one. So what we're going to do is go to this one, masking, add to mask, apply. Then we're going to go to this one, masking. Don't mask this layer. And as you can see, it's in the confines now of this layer only. So nothing outside the layer is showing. So now what we're going to do is take this layer, make it the color we want it, go to effects, inside effects. If we choose this one, it will only affect the line. We want the inside effects. And the effects I use are Kreation. So you will have to trial and error with this a little bit. Okay, actually that one's not bad. Let's see what it looks like in pixel form. Okay, that's not bad at all. So this is what it looks like without it. This is what it looks like with it on. Now the reason it looks so dramatically different, one thing I forgot to mention, is you are going to want to go into Kreation and minimize frame-to-frame randomness. We're technically going to just be taking a picture of this, but if you'd like land on one you really like, or you just want to make sure it's consistent so it's not constantly messing with you, this is a good way to do it. I'm going to keep both of these so I have one to select at the end. Well, actually, I don't think I'll be able to use either of these because I forgot to do the edge. So let's go back into this real quick and fix that edge. Oh, as I'm sure you've noticed, this line disappeared on this one. As you can see, there's a black line outline on it, but you can't see it when we're here. The reason is because this mask layer is over it. So that's why you can't see it. It's showing what's in front of it, and there's no black line right here, so it's just showing what's there. So now onto this stroke. I'm going to take the exact same color, and then I'm just going to make it lighter. Let's see how that looks. Maybe a little lighter. And a little more orange, maybe. Too much orange. Yeah, it's just trial and error at this point with it. You want to just kind of get a dirt, dust feel, kind of look for it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So this will be kind of our pathway. Yeah, you can change this any way you want. Just remember to have it how you want it when you do the brush itself. Because the brush would be harder to change because you'd have to go back into it, change the color, and then save it as a new brush, and then delete the old brush. Or you could keep both. It's your choice. But yeah, this is what our kind of final product of that will look like. So we'll name this one just so we can keep track of what we've got as path. And we're just going to hide that for now. Oh, unless you are wanting to save it in pixelation form, make sure you change this back to 0. Because you can always make a brush look like it's pixelated by just simply turning on pixelation in the vector itself, or even the file. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you what I mean. So let's just grab one of my tree brushes. And tone that up so you can see it. Let's make it bigger. Now, as you can see, rendered out, looks like trees, just very lazy cartoon background trees. Go down here, change this to about a 10. And 10 is not like the know-all number. Like, you'll have to play with this a little bit to kind of figure out what kind of pixelation you want, because there are different levels of pixelation in this. Just for what I'm doing with this specific project, 10 is the right number because of how everything's sized. So as you can see, that's what it kind of looks like pixelated. So yeah, again, you can do this with brushes already. You do not need to just have it already on when you save the brush. So let me just correct these so I don't again do that. So the next thing we are going to work on will be a tree. So what I recommend doing is just getting a simple stump for it. Let's center it. And remember, these kind of brushes are for more of a retro game style, so you don't really need a ton of detail for these trees. Then what I'm going to do is just kind of make the leaves for it. Actually, we'll put that in a separate layer. That way we can keep everything separated. And actually our PAP kind of works pretty well for this. So we'll keep that. And on the inside, if you want to just add some extra detail, you can go to spots and go at a 90-degree angle. Change the color to a black or really dark brown. And let's see how that looks. Okay, that doesn't look bad. Let's see how it looks pixelated now. Okay, that looks pretty good for a tree. Then we're just going to make the leaves. Yeah, just find a shade you like that you feel like is leafy color. That should work. Oh, yeah, and remember to turn off your spots. Unless you want like a leaf kind of texture, which we can actually do with that real quick. Put this at 75-degree angle. And then change it to a dark leaf. Let's see how that looks in pixelation form. So here's what it would look like. But again, you got to remember this will probably be smaller when you work with it and varying in size. So you might want to save some of these pixelations too as brushes if you're going to be fluctuating them in size. But yeah, otherwise I would just recommend, so everything stays consistent, when you make your animations or pictures with these, you just make the brush, you leave it unrendered as pixel, and you render it later as pixel when it comes to making the animation itself. Another thing I'm kind of noticing that I forgot to show you, you might want to hide this edge. The reason being just so it looks like it's in the ground, so it's not just a complete square. So yeah. Next, what we're going to do is just kind of add to our Minecraft tree a little bit. I'm just calling it a Minecraft tree because I'm making it out of blocks. It's not actually going to be shaped like one of the Minecraft trees. Not much, at least. We'll shrink that one down too. Let's see. Let's grab this one. And that should give it enough contrast. So now I'm going to put these in a group. And let's see how it looks in pixelated form when it's rendered out. Okay, that doesn't look bad. So here's what our tree would look like when it's rendered. You can make plants with this. You can make clouds with it. Honestly, you can make a number of things that would be useful to you. And a little too bright. Yeah, what I'm working on now is a flower. I should be naming this stuff before I start on it so you guys know what I'm doing. So I'm not just sitting here in awkward silence and you're like, what the heck is he making? So I think this should work. Let me first make some leaves for it while I still have that brush pulled up. Or color, whatever it's called. interesting fact, since this thing is centered, you can just do this to guarantee, whoop, that was an accident. I meant to make this value negative. You can just make a value positive or negative to get it to show up where you want it. So this is a stem for it, and then I'm going to make the top of it. Okay, shrink it down a little bit. Okay. And let's just add a circle in there for the pollen spot. All right. Make that part yellow. Make the stroke much lighter yellow. Now you can't see it right now because I've got to hide. Ah, right. Can't color it in until after I hide this stroke. There we go. I think that should have fixed it. No, it did not. It hides all the strokes. So what we're going to do instead, yellow, brighter yellow, and then we're just going to bring it forward until it's showing. There we go. Then we can just make this whatever color we want. Let's just make it a simple red. The outer stroke needs to be a slightly lighter red. And there's our pixelated flower. Leaves are a little fat, so you might want to shrink those down if you're making it based on my design. I'm going to make these edges a little more pointed. Okay, that's not a bad flower. So there we go. We now have a flower brush. I'm going to duplicate this one because this is one you are probably going to want in multiple colors. So we have flower. We'll just name this one red. Purple. What kind of shade of purple do we want? A little too dark. That one's okay. And okay, not bad. And let's do a yellow one. Just copy what we did for the pollen. I hope it contrasts enough or it's going to blend in too well. It does blend in too well. So we'll just make the center part brighter. There we go. That's a little better. So the next thing I'm going to work on is a simple building or tower. So we're going to first build the tower. That'll be the simplest, I think. This is just kind of like a background piece or maybe a building just for your kind of area. Shrink that down, pull it down a little, color it in. Do kind of a darker. Okay, and then we're going to have to do a brick layer. So that'll be our base. The next thing we're going to do is another vector layer. And we'll do one of these. We don't need to fill it in, we just need to make the bricks dark. A little too dark. Then we'll shrink it down. Just keep copying and pasting it until you reach the bottom. Yeah, okay. There we go. Phone just went off. Don't know what that's about. Anyways, so this is what it will look like when rendered out. Adds a little bit of detail to, whoop, that was an accident. Adds a little bit of detail to it. Now, one thing I'm going to do different with this one that I haven't done with my other ones yet is I'm going to go into this layer, go into masking, and I'm going to exclude the strokes, which what this will do is these strokes now take kind of priority over what's here. So the stroke itself becomes part of the outside layer and goes above it. That way, when it's rendered out, it doesn't pop up with the brick going over it. The reason I'm going to do that is it looks much nicer when rendered as a pixelated image. So there we go. The regular, the pixelated. Next thing we're going to do is the top piece. And all we're going to do is just a simple shape. The good thing about when working with pixelated images is you don't have to do a bunch of detail for it because it's all supposed to be simple. Because the graphics are supposed to be very basic. So we'll do a dark red, bright red for the outline. And then for the top pieces, I want a kind of shingle effect. So we'll probably just choose the same one. Let's do 5. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. Grab all these bottom points, split them, grab these, whoop, You can make them spiky or round if you want. I'm going to make mine a little roundish. And then color in this whole layer. And they're already the right color, so that's the good news. Actually, let's make them darker. That way they don't contrast with everything else. Okay, yeah, black works. Or kind of black. It's more of a really dark maroon. Okay. Group it. Just going to call this top. Mask it. Make sure you go back into masking and exclude the strokes, unless you enjoy or like looking at it with the strokes. It's your choice. Go back to this part. I'm going to hide all the top parts just because normally shingles, when you have them, they overlap each other, so it'd make more sense. Okay, there we go. That doesn't look bad. Let's go up to 90%, 95% so you can see the whole thing. Oh, not quite enough. Let's try 80%. There we go. So this is what the whole tower will look like. Obviously this is in pixelated form, so it'll look a little better than that. And one thing we're missing is maybe a window and a door. So if you want to add some detail to it, so I'm just going to do a simple door. I don't know why I just don't do this. There we go. We'll make it kind of dark brown, light brown. No, let's do dark brown. With a light brown outline. Maybe add some stripes to it. Actually, we'll just name this door because I'm going to have to do some masking on it, I just realized. So, and, whoop, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, we'll just color these in now. Now I'm just going to add a simple door handle. I don't know if you'll be able to see this from far away, but we're going to try it anyway. We'll just leave it simply black. Because when you pixelate things, sometimes things get left out or merged with other pixels. Oh, the middle one disappeared. That's interesting. Wonder why. Must be right on a border or something of however the pixels work. There we go. So there's our door. You can even see the handle. Let's make that bottom piece go away on it. Okay, not bad. And I'm just trying to see how it looks if it's smaller, see if it works. Still kind of works. So that'll be our door and our kind of tower. So you can actually just take your door base and we'll just put it here. Whoops, I was not typing. Whoops. Paste it, bring it up to about here. Make it dark. The light edge. Whoop, that was the wrong brush. With a light edge. Okay, and there is our window. So yeah, I'd say this tower is pretty much done. Unless you want to add more detail to it, that's pretty good for a tower. Next, we're just going to do a simple house. And there we go. I almost forgot to turn the pixelation on this off. You might want to make sure you do that, that way you don't save them all as pixelated, because I saved a few brushes earlier after one of the crashes and saved them all in pixel form and didn't realize it until just now. So I'm going to have to go back and correct that later. Okay, that works. Why'd that turn invisible? That's a first. Interesting. I wonder why I did that. Well, why won't it mask?
One eternity later.
Tracked. There we go. I have no idea what was going on there. Kept crashing a lot too. So maybe my computer's having an issue? I don't know. Anyways, so that's what our house will look like. And we can actually just take the door from this layer. We'll just make it bigger. Now, one thing you need to know about when expanding with these, if you expand using this tool, it will also make the lines thicker. So just know that. That's why I've been expanding everything with this tool. The transform layer tool, or no, transform points tool. If you use a transform layer tool, what I just said would happen. Okay, not bad. Now we're just going to change the background of the house to make it feel a little different. Let's do a kind of off-white color maybe. Okay, that works. All right, it's a very simple shade, very simple color. You could also make it look like it's made out of the same brick as the tower, I suppose. That way it looks like, because if it's a medieval build, which kind of looks like the world we're building a little bit, well, it will in the scene I'm going to build, it would make sense to build it out of the rock around it. That's how they used to build when they built kingdoms. They'd use whatever rock was available to them, which makes sense. So we'll just make it kind of look like that, yeah. And we'll just group these together. Oop, didn't mean to add that last symbol. Doesn't matter much, but I'm still bothered by it. And we'll make it dark. All right, let's see how that looks. Looks okay. The top would probably be made out of wood though, so let's make the top brown instead. If we're going for a medieval kind of look. So we'll turn these to lighter shade of gray. From the bottom to a pretty dark gray. Do that light. Oop, I chose the wrong brush. Choose that light for everything else. Okay, it'll probably look better once it's pixelated. So we'll pixelate it real quick. It doesn't look bad. It's pretty good for a house. Especially for just a basic one. So that's our house. We'll call that good for now. I think we have enough to scene build. So, oh, one thing we will want, a kind of currency. So a kind of coin of some kind. Or gem, but I'm going to do a coin because they're easier to rotate. So I guess we don't really need to do this in the brush form though. So we'll build this actually once we get to that point. Now what I'm going to show you to do is how to save these into Moho so they can be used as brushes. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the file you saved these into, then you're going to, for our group ones, we're going to put them in a file. I'm going to name these flowers. Buildings. Mid. Evil, I think I spelled that right, but we can rename it later if we need to. And then these two can just kind of be on their own because they're going to actually be their own brushes. So what you're going to do is you're going to have these. Then I'm going to go pull up Finder, your Finder kind of file. Go to your applications. Scroll down until you find Moho, whatever version you're in. Show package contents, contents, resources, support, common, brushes, and here we go. Here's all our brushes. And blocky tree, dirt path. Oh yeah, well, it's fine because I know where they are, so yeah, you might want to duplicate them and bring them over here. That way you still have the original files over here. But I know where they are, so it doesn't bother me. You go to Pro, Brushes, then you take your file of brushes. Oh, shoot. That was an accident. Make sure you don't drop them into someone else's file. I don't know what that would do. So make sure you bring it up to here and drop it in. There we go. Yeah. So there we go. Now they're in that order. Now we're going to fire up Moho. New scene. Vector layer. Just draw a simple line. Turn it up to about 300. It'll only go 260, no, 256, my bad. Going to center it. And now let's check out some of our brushes. Okay, our path brush came in just fine. So as you can see, it's lined up wrong. What you're going to do is align with curve. Okay, 100 seems to be working relatively well. Let's try 105, 110, 120. Okay, so we'll do 110. See how that looks. Okay, it doesn't look terrible. Lines up pretty well. One thing I forgot to do, I'm noticing, is delete that edge at the bottom so they'd connect right. But this gives us a kind of basic concept. I'll fix that when I start building the world and replace that brush later. Let's see what else we got. Got our trees. And to show you they pixelate still. There we go. And they look good. It gives them a little variety too, as you can see. So there's our pixelated trees. And we got to turn that off so we can see the other things now. Where's the flowers? Here we go. Here are our flowers. Let's modify something. Well, guess I'll have to add more frames in if I want to see the purple one. Still no purple one. Okay, they turned out kind of okay for this. So this is what they'll look like in pixel form. Now let's go on to the buildings. Where are those at? Here we go. Looks like the house is the main picture for it. See how they look in pixel form? Okay, yeah, this turned out really good. So obviously you'll have to pick and choose which ones you want to use, but as you can see, we can render these out and use them as brushes. So all I got to do is go fix the path, and then I'm going to start this tutorial. Alright, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to work on our scene. So the first thing we're going to do is build a basic background. I'm going to do this top-down view style like I did in the intro, so like a Legend of Zelda kind of looking world. So we're just going to call this the base. And just need a grassy looking color. Oops. That'll do. And the next thing we're going to do is add in some grass itself. So the good thing about Moho is it comes with a grass brush already and it looks okay pixelated. So we're just going to draw some lines. I can never color it. Tone it up to 10 might be too low. What's 100 look like, I wonder? Where is that grass brush? Here we go. Okay, I'll just add a little extra texture to your images. So that's why I use it, especially in Pixelation, because otherwise it'll just be a boring green background. And if you've ever played any pixelated game before, they normally have something at least going on the ground. I don't know why I'm not doing this. Okay, there we go, some basic grass. So it just adds some texture to our ground. If you want to add some mud spots too, you can with just some simple vector layers, some shapes maybe. But yeah, beyond that, I'd say that's pretty good. What we're going to do next is we're going to add in our path. So, oh, that looks kind of cool. Path. Just draw a straight line up. Center it. Oops, I did not have everything selected. Center it. That's still on the grass layer, so we're going to have to go find our path. Here we go. This is the fixed one. And 10 if I remember right. Looks right. And we're going to tone this up to as big as it'll go. Okay, looks good. There we go. Let's pixelate it. All right. As you can see, it doesn't look as good as when we originally rendered it. So we're going to play with the pixelation a little bit. I might change the grass too. So let's try 7. Looks a little better. Let's try 5. Okay. Getting somewhere. 2. Okay, 2 is a little too crisp of an image. Let's try 3. Feels a little retro. Maybe 4 is the answer. Okay, we'll go with 4 then. As for the grass, I'm going to change it to, feels just a little too crisp. You might want to keep your pixels consistent if you can help it. It will help you in the long run just kind of keep everything looking the same. Next thing we're going to do is add in some of our buildings. Actually, we'll do trees next. So where's the custom tree we made? Here we go. So we're going to build kind of a dense forest kind of setting. There we go. Maybe have that one overlap a little bit on the path. And let's see how that looks. Okay, 10 might be a little much for the trees too. I thought it might look okay, but we'll tone it back to a 4 and see what it looks like. Okay, yeah, the 4 would work. So there's our tree kind of setup. Next up, we will add in the buildings, however they look. Here we go, the house. Let's do 200 so we have them pretty spaced out. That way we can have a little bit of variety. There we go, now we got it down to 2. Should be able to shrink it more actually without it erasing anything. Nope, that was opacity. I want this. Let's put them behind the trees. So it looks like we were just kind of coming up to them. Like a village or something. Okay, looks pretty good. So at this point, if you're just wanting to make a picture, this is where you could stop. But if you're wanting to build a full-on scene, you have quite a few options to do that. The first one is, let me get all these kind of put in a layer. So what you do is you have a couple of options. And I'm going to use this, well actually, let me just pull one of my chibi characters and pixelate it. This one? Yeah. There we go. Here's Chibi Devon. He will be here to help us out. I pixelated him a while back. Well, I say a while back. I made him for my previous kind of practice for this. So he's kind of in the right pixelation. Might be a little too sharp, so we might want to sharpen everything. The good news is when you have everything in one layer like this, we can unpixelate everything and then just pixelate it once. So since we're wanting them all in the same pixels, we'll just do this. So it's better to group your stuff is what I'm kind of trying to say. So make sure you group everything. If you want to keep your character separate from the group, that's fine. But since he's already pixelated, what is he pixelated on? And we'll just maybe copy that. Okay, he's pixelated on a 10. Let's see if we pixelate everything with him on 10, if he looks correct with the scene. Kind of looks right. But also he feels a little out of place, so maybe we'll dial that back. Let's dial it back to a 6. Pretty sure we could get away with that. Okay, so we're gonna, well, Yeah, I still think we can get away with it. So we're going to use our pixelated scene that way. I'm going to use this kind of rig as a representation placeholder for a second. So what you are going to do if you build your scenes one by one is in game, let me start on frame one. In games like this, normally your character, when he walks onto screen, would kind of just come in. Let me rotate him so he's the right way. When they walk onto screen, they would normally come from here and work their way up. And once they touch this area, they enter a new area and you put a whole new scene in. That's one way you can do it. Or if you want to take kind of a Pokemon approach to where unless they hit a wall, it doesn't stop following, the screen doesn't stop following them. Or if they just kind of walk in a small room, like they're in a house and this is the whole house, then the screen wouldn't follow them. But if, let's say they're in a vast open world, no matter where they go, they are in the center. So the screen would just kind of center them and the world itself would move. So what you do in this scenario is you would animate your character doing whatever he's doing, walk animation, punch animation, anything, and then you'd move the world itself as a scene. It's pretty simple to do. You just got to remember, however big you make the scene, you got to make it around it so you can keep one consistent movement. You can try and break it up if you want to. It can work. Then line up the scenes and then delete them for rendering on your computer to kind of keep it safe from crashing. But yeah, you might want to just build the whole scene if it's just a small, short animation. That's what I did for the intro. It was just one consecutive scene. So that's one option you can do. But yeah, beyond that, if this is all you're wanting to do, I just recommend moving the scene itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make a kind of dense town he's going to walk into. I say dense, it's going to have just a couple of buildings in it. So we just, oh, it didn't copy and paste. Oh, because I'm on frame one. Duh. Okay, I just want the house. Did that work or is it still flipped? It's still flipped. Okay, 1 second while I try and get a house. Okay, there we go, got a house. So we're going to bring that down to about here. And as you can see, it's in front of the tower. We'll fix that in a minute because it's just easier to fix it all at once. Okay, it gave us another tower. That's fine though. We'll give the town a little bit of variety. Okay, let's grab these 3 and grab these 2. Actually, we'll just grab all 4. Oh wait, duh, that's on the same line. So we'll just grab these. I'm gonna just move this one to about here. Oh, those are almost all towers. I do not want that. Still the same problem. What if I just grab the houses? What happens? Interesting. What happens if I grab 2 towers? Will they switch? Nope. Oh, very interesting. So it seems to be trying to keep them balanced, maybe. Okay. Reshuffled them, it seems. It's fine though. All right, now we're going to correct this scene so we can have kind of a town I mean, sorry, not tower, kind of town setting. So that's an interesting fact I did not know existed about brushes. Let's try grabbing this one instead. Okay, here's something interesting. If you want to cycle through your brushes, you can go to this and then just use your arrow keys and it will cycle through them for you. Okay, so yeah. Let me see if I can get a desired outcome here. Can I get a house? There we go, got a house. Got another house, awesome. Okay, I can work with this. There we go, got another house. Trying to get it behind that house now. Well, why would it go behind? Maybe I need to bring this one forward. I did copy a lot, so maybe it's just really far ahead. Come on, give me a house. Oop, there's a house. All right. There's another house. Awesome. That's interesting. Seems to like towers more than houses. There we go. Yeah, you will have to play with it, it looks like a little bit. I have never seen this before when happening with brushes, but I've never worked with this many on a screen at one time. So I guess I just never got it, or maybe I had the randomness turned off, so that maybe helped. Because the randomness might be what's causing this, the randomizer, whatever you call that. So I'm going to call that good, just because I'm getting a little tired of messing with these brushes. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to extend our path. We're going to take our grass, extend it to. Now the only part you are not going to have to worry about extending is the green, because the background base will not actually have to move. And the reason for that is because it has no detail, it's just a static color, so it will just stay how it is. So we'll just flip this image so it feels like the trees have variety. Then we'll do the same up here. We should probably put the trees behind the buildings. Oh, right, the two front buildings. So we're going to actually have two building layers. That means I'm going to grab this front one, delete it. I do not have that option. Awesome. Let's move these off screen. That way it doesn't mess with anything. And here we'll just put town entrance towers. Entrance. Okay, interesting. It's not wanting to work with me now. Let's try... You know, I just realized I could have just done this the whole time. Hang on, let me get those towers back where they were. There we go. I could have just duplicated the layer. That would have made more sense. And then... Wait, what am I doing? Why am I not just duplicating the tree layer? I'm putting way too much effort into this. Would make way more sense to just do this. And we'll name this BG trees. And now we can even modify them a little bit, make them fit into the town a little better. Oops. And okay, just set that one like that. Come on. This actually works out because it looks like it's densing the forest a little bit because of how the trees are kind of lining up. So we'll just stick them kind of closer together, make it look like you're starting to go into a dense part of the forest. And yeah, we'll just set these up here. Okay, yeah, we're starting to get some kind of life in this town. Making it look like it's a little more natural. There we go. And yeah, so with the forest kind of covering the path, this would be a very good kind of like transition to a forest scene. So I'll show you kind of how this part works. Let me just save this real quick so it doesn't crash on me. Because if it crashes, I'd lose all this. So yeah, here's the scene, here's our character, and he's now turned around. We'll just have him start like this, go 2 frames, have him take a step, go 2 frames, yeah, 2 frames, have him step back, 2 more frames, have him walk. And now we'll just cycle that. If I can remember where it is. There we go. Now let's just test it and make sure it looks right. Okay, he's moving a little too quick. So we'll just slow it down. Let's try... let's try that. See how that looks. Better. Let's go up to 15 frames maybe. Is that what I'm on? Let's take this one to 16 and we'll do every 4 frames have them change. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. See how that looks. Still feels a little quick, so let's slow it down a little bit more. Looks like that's about 19 frames. Wait, maybe it's a problem with the animation itself. See, block 1, middle, block 2, middle. Yeah, okay, so it's doing it, right? So the one thing I just realized, we can pull this base out. It doesn't need to be pixelated because it's just a static color. So the only thing we're going to be moving is the scene. So he's backwards now. We'll reset position of the scene so it locks in place. And let's make this last about 5 seconds, let's say, before he reaches the forest. Now, because I want those trees to affect him, I'm going to pull him and put him, or not pull him, I'm going to copy the scene once I'm done. So, yeah, it's locked in place. So where is the, here we go. Just going to copy these. And go back to frame 1 if I can remember to do that ever. Okay, they're deleted. Going to duplicate this whole scene, but put it in front of him. Then we're just going to delete everything except for the tree layer. Okay, trees are in. The only problem is they're covering that building. So I'm going to go back into the irregular layer and move just these 2 buildings. Yeah, it's behind it. Okay. Save it really quick and see how it plays out. Okay, a couple of those buildings are a little too close to the path. Okay, let's try this again. All right, and yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Now I just got to render it out and you can see what it looks like. So just give me a second.
Thousands of tears later.
So I recorded it, or I exported it as an animation, and I noticed a problem. Whenever the buildings are on screen, they're glitching back and forth between the tower and the house. The reason I think this is happening is because it's moving, so they're changing position, and because of that, they're cycling back and forth. So I would recommend not using these in brush form after all, unless you're doing a static image. So I'll probably delete them from my brush reel, that means, but doesn't mean we still can't do anything with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the original house images and just kind of build a town. So since the buildings are too glitchy to put in, what I'm going to do instead is just do images and drag them in manually to make them look good. The way I'm going to kind of correct the mistake, though, of them being not only kind of random and uncontrollable, but also just not all the same kind of layout and they're all over the path, I'm just going to put them in a file and duplicate them as I need them. So yeah, something to keep in mind, you might not want to use random brushes on something like buildings. That is something I had never tried before, so definitely a good thing to learn. I will just shrink them down to where they're about the right size for him. Characters are normally bigger than the doors when it comes to games like these. They're about normally the same size as the house, so that's about right. We'll call that good. Yeah, at the town entrance, like I did last time, I will put two towers. So let's duplicate. Put this in a positive value so it's identical. House underneath. Dang it. Let me just move these over so they're not over the towers. Then house one. Kind of move over here. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit reorganizing, but oh well. Duplicate the house. Bring it up to about here-ish. And I'm going to say that's just about good for kind of little village, especially if we're trying to get accurate proportions on the town itself. Where's that house? Here we go. So we'll just add a couple more trees. When in doubt, trees. No, but for real, let's get, there we go. That set up. Move this tree a little ways away from the path. It's not on top of him when he walks by, because I don't want to explain why he clips through it. But yeah, it's fairly simple to do. One thing I realized I forgot to do in the original render was a kind of coin system, like I said I was originally going to do. So let's add some coins. All we're going to do is just build a simple coin. This will be themed off of Mario's kind of coins a little bit. There we go. And won't need the stroke. Just make it gold. Okay, and now I know it doesn't look right yet. Just give me a second to show you what I'm doing with this. I'm going to make it a kind of 3D image. So we can, or wait, no, if we make it 3D, it might look funky. Oh, we'll try it anyway. What's the 3D option? Just depth sort showed up. Ah, right. Extrude. Okay. Let's see what it looks like from the side. Okay, it's a little thick. So we're going to bring that down a little bit. Let's do 0.2 and see how that looks. We'll do 0.3. This one will be 0.2. We'll inflate this. I've made one of these before, so I know kind of how to make it. Okay, that part needs to be inflated a little more. Oh wait, no, it just needs to be extended a little bit. So we'll do 1.3. No, 1.5? Let's just go up to 0.2. Okay? Clearly not the issue. Well, it'll work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. Put some of them on the pathway for him to kind of collect. Make sure it's behind him so when he walks by them they can disappear. And we will, oh wait. Let's add a rotating animation first. I'd like to just have that done. So reset, 2 frames. Have it rotate 360 degrees. Okay, it worked. Now we just cycle it. Now you've noticed I have not made it so it would not be stationary with him. All I'm going to do is just drop it in this scene. Oop, went to the bottom. Okay, now we're just going to duplicate it. Put that there. Duplicate again. Put another one. Another one. Maybe put one more up here. And then as he walks by, I should have done this on the first one. Allow animated effects. And the moment he walks in front of it to where you can't see it, just make it invisible. So it looks like he collected it. Oh, went too far, because he's supposed to collect a string of them. Viz. Guess I can do it multiple on this layer. There's one, yeah, there's one more, okay. Okay, that should do. Now let's render it out and see what it looks like.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to know when I upload my next video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell.